Hi there, I'm Gary and welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking with Mark Robson, the owner of Kotare Models in New Zealand, a manufacturer that's very quickly built a reputation for high accuracy but still offering a very buildable product. They recently rocked the model making world by announcing a new 1/48 scale kit of the Handley Halifax bomber, an announcement all the more interesting as they're offering purchasers a considerable say in the development of the kit that we probably won't see for 3 years. Now, if you enjoy the show, please do let YouTube know by giving it the imperial thumbs up, by subscribing to the channel and by hitting the notification bell. All of these are free and a great way to show your support. So we'll talk more about the future later in the chat, but first, let's talk about that Halifax.
The first thing I have to get clear is how you pronounce your company name, because I've had about 30 different versions.
I am not an expert in the Maori language, and I try my best. The macron over the top, over the O, means that the O is more of an or than a O. And
Right.
I have to apologize. I have a cat up on the bench, mucking my phone right now. So okay. The best I can do as a non-Maori speaker would be kotare. So
Kotare.
Okay. So, but it's a little bit like Tamia, Tamia.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter all that much, but we appreciate it when people make an effort.
Yeah.
So if anybody's really interested, they can jump online and just go pronunciation of kotare, and it'll go to a Maori speaker and a little clip of the word. So if people are interested, but I won't. When we debated the name, we said people are going to struggle to pronounce it because we're struggling to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, this will hopefully make it memorable. They'll know it's a Maori name. They'll know it's specific to New Zealand, which we were interested in having a name that conveyed our New Zealandness. Richard is part Maori, so he was very interested in having something from our the tangata whenua, which is the Maori name for the native people here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm going to apologise for cats being rambunctious in the background here.
No problem.
So yeah, kotare is probably the best I can do. But, other people would do better, especially younger New Zealanders, even European New Zealanders. They've been brought up in the schools with the Maori language, so they do much better than I do. Both my kids pronounce the words much more nicely than I do.
So, Mark Robson from Kotare, as we now know it's called. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it, especially with the time difference and everything else. It's really good of you, man. So the big recent announcement was Project Halifax.
Yes.
Which is just, I think, caught everyone really by surprise. So the first question is, why a Halifax when you've done single engine fighters?
I'm on record as saying, because it's true, my dad brought home an FX Wellington when I was, I'm going to say 5, could have been 6. I was born in England, so we were in England, in Southampton. My dad was a policeman, and I was already plane mad. I was born and spent the first few years of my life near in Aldershot, which is near Edinburgh. I have memories of fast jets going over, although my father tried to tell me they were implanted later memories. And I just became immediately fascinated by aeroplanes and models, and influenced by RAF subjects right to this day, and built most of the FX bombers. Had a go at the Halifax from Matchbox that ended up on the shelf of doom. And I've got a thing, I suppose, for the underdog, for the bridesmaid, for the understudy, whatever you want to call these airplanes. So once the Spitfire, was out in the world and getting lots of praise, I really pushed for us to do a Hurricane next. always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And then when looking for subjects to do, you're looking for a hole in the market. You're looking for something that will sell. I'm not a movie mogul, so it's got to make money at this moment anyway. I can't do a charity subject, even though I've got a list of what I'd like to do. And so I thought, there's the FM Halifax, and God bless that company. They got out something, what was it, 25 years ago? I know it's got its faults, but I'm never going to say anything bad about a company that managed to get a 48 scale bomber to market.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
People have made awesome models out of that kit. But I looked at doing it in 32nd scale, and even Peter Jackson couldn't get a 32nd scale 4-inch market, and 32nd scale is just a quantum leap above 48 scale for a bomber in terms of costs. So I'm not saying we're never going to do a bomber in 32nd scale, but not in the near future. And then it was obvious it was a 48 scale Halifax. So when I owned the shop, the Tamiya Lancasters still walked out the door. You could hardly ever get enough. And that was nearly 50 years after that kit arrived on the market. And yes, the Lancaster is the star, just like a Spitfire is the star. But I think the love that the Halifax has received so far, the first sales have been very promising, very pleasing for something that is still vaporware. We're just starting this process of creating a community. So I've said a number of times now that when I was trying to get Richard to work for me after Wingnut Wings was shut down, or not, Wingnut Wings was not closed. It was just they stopped doing business. The company is still live, but the staff were all made redundant. And I sent him a list of 80 subjects in 5 scales, none of which was a Battle of Britain Spitfire.
Right.
So he very much guided me down that pathway, and we will follow through with Spitfires for sure. But now I can branch out a little bit, and there's a marketing element of, I never said we were only going to do 32nd scale fighters.
Sure.
And so how about bombers? But it's got to be 48 scale or 72 scale.
Yeah.
So Halifax 48 scale, and away we go.
Excellent. You're going with the B Mark 1, I think it is. Is it the one you're starting with, or is that still a floating decision?
I'm pretty much set on a B Mark 2 because they made so few Mark 1s.
Right.
And for the Mark 1s, you need different nacelles because the radiators were different. So the B2 was the first mass-produced Halifax, and it does allow quite a bit of variation with different noses. As I'm sure you know, they flew with and without mid-upper turrets. A few served in Coastal Command colours. They went to the Middle East, so different camouflage colours. Because when you're trying to market a kit set, as we call them in New Zealand, you've got to look at whether one of the problems with the early Spitfires, of course, is they're all brown and green. Underneath there's variation, but from a distance, all you see is brown and green Spitfires. So now with the 5B coming up, we suddenly go to grey and green, desert schemes. All of a sudden, you've got a wider range of colour schemes, which is, it's got to be good for marketability. So Mark II, and then, a lot of people responded with a why not the Mark III, and I guess I'm a little bit sentimental. A lot of brave people died in Mark II Halifaxes, and everybody recognised at the time that it wasn't the plane it should have been, and there's multiple reasons for that. But they still tried to go to war the only way Britain really could at that point, apart from the naval war. They couldn't hurt Germany in continental Europe except by bombing. And so they tried to turn really a marginal aircraft into a weapon of war. And then the B3 came along, and by many reckonings was a better bomber than the Lancaster. But by that stage, hundreds and hundreds of Mark IIs had been shot down with thousands thousands of casualties. So I wanted to honour those men, and some of the air transport women who would have lost their lives ferrying Halifaxes. And then if the sales go well, we'll definitely do a Mark III.
Right.
So if this project succeeds, and I have every indication that it will, we will follow III. So that I'm going to say very highly likely.
Mm-hmm. I remember reading in Paul Brickhill's book about the Dam Busters, where he's talking about Leonard Cheshire, how he was on a Halifax squadron, and the Halifaxes were getting less and less performance the more gubbins they kept throwing on. And he said, I think it's when they changed the exhaust stacks that he said, enough is enough, and started ripping out everything he'd been told to put in, and the losses went down. And it's like, guys, talk to us. We actually know what's going on night after night. Listen to what we're doing. And the Halifax became a better performing and therefore a more likely to come back machine as a consequence.
Yes, well, this will be old news to Halifax fans, but just one little interesting snippet. So they ordered a standard service B-2 bomber to be taken to, I think it was Martlesham Heath, the ANAEE, whatever that is. And the pilots there were so horrified they refused to fly it at maximum weight, and they couldn't believe that serving pilots, some of whom had minimal experience, were expected to take off in this overloaded, aerodynamically deficient aircraft. And those exhausts, so they were trying to deal with the problem of the exhaust being visible to night fighters. So firstly, they put those trumpets on them, or saxophones. They were very interesting shape, quite unique. And then they put those big asbestos curved covers over, which didn't really solve the problem. But as you said, for the likes of Leonard Cheshire, that was the last straw. That apparently took 10 or 12 miles per hour off the top speed, just those exhaust covers. And there's a photo in one of the books of the size they were supposed to be, and then these massively oversized things that have been supplied by the subcontractor, and then something that was a different shape. And then with the radials, they went with those hedgehog style exhausts, of course. So there's many stories, and as I've been accumulating books for years, I've read almost all of them, but more stories will come out as the community puts up photos and family stories. A surprising number of people who've signed up have relatives or their partners' relatives flew Halifaxes, and some of them have died in them. So, so the Mark II was a difficult aeroplane to fly.
See, what comes over straight away, Mark, from chatting with you for like a few minutes is A, how passionate you are about the subject, but B, how much research you do into it. And anyone who buys one of your kits, you look through the instruction booklet. It's as much an instruction about the history of the subject that you're building as it is about how to put the plastic together and make a kit of it.
Well, I'm totally under the wing of Richard Alexander, who started that policy with Wingnut Wings. So a lot of what a Wingnut Wings kit looked and felt like was down to Richard. I think he was given a pretty free hand by Peter Jackson, who was busy making movies. And so that style just followed through. And Richard is a absolutely superb researcher, painstaking. He could go on Mastermind for the Spitfire Mark I and Mastermind for the Spitfire 5A. So I'm trying to match his standards, really. And the Halifax, he'll be sort of supervising with his 20 years of experience, but the Halifax is going to be my baby with Darren Mildenhall, the main designer. He designed the Spitfire and Hurricane. So I just had a day in Wellington 2 days ago on Friday. We had a brainstorming, and Darren, I said, day one on the Halifax, build the Revell Halifax. and get a sense of the shape of the airplane and what the nose was all about. Revell were very clever with that kit, actually, the way they gave you the different nose options. So we'll be trying to work out with the Halifax community which exact options we're going to have in the kit. And I want to emphasize to everybody who's, you know, thinking of signing up or has signed up, it's not a top-down exercise. I haven't got everything listed in my brain that we're going to put in this kit. I haven't got the color schemes in my head. So the community will help decide. It's not like there's going to be a referendum on every single item, but if you know that lots of people are asking for a Coastal Command color scheme, well, there'll be a Coastal Command color scheme. Yeah, I guess I've learned from Richard about the history of the aeroplanes and the quality of the research and accuracy of model. You know, the modelers love to know they don't have to doubt the accuracy of the model, and that's what we're aiming.
The other thing that you've already just mentioned that is that you've mentioned that word, the community. It's not just another kit being launched. You're actually generating this whole, you know, you've put in the pre-order, you're part of Project Halifax, and you're going to be engaging with people, but also getting opinions, but also ultimately some at random picked up are going to be building the kit when the test shots are coming out.
Yeah, so that was my idea. I think it's getting quite a lot of excitement. So we've just, I believe, just ticked over 500. So the first 500 names, sometime probably towards the end of next year, will go in a digital hat, and we'll pick out 20 names. So the second set of test shots, because the first, you know, I don't think I'm ballsy enough to send out the first test shot. So
that would be brave. That would be really brave.
What I would like to do, though, Richard will have kittens, but I would like to put out maybe a slightly edited version of the test shot report. So what a lot of people don't realize is the way Richard works and the way Darren works, and Jason, our new designer, who's he was at Wingnut Wings, he's come back to us now. So the test shot report is a phenomenal document. It's words and images showing that, you know, the guys have got digital calipers that go down to a hundredth of a millimeter. Every part is compared against the CAD, measured with effectively a micrometer, and then this massively detailed report that's 100+ pages goes back to the manufacturer. And then they attack items 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, and then the second test shots come out, and you hope that most of the things have been dealt with. There can be real frustrations where something that was right on the first test shot has been erroneously changed and made incorrect on the second test shot, and then you've got a third test shot, fourth test shot. So, and it's a little bit. These test shots are a little bit like when you're trying to finish a model for a competition. You could, most people, you put a model on the table and you could have done with another 10 or 12 hours on it, right? But nobody would notice if you'd had another 10 or 12 hours. Only you really know what you would do. Yeah. And with these test shots, like with the 5B now, which is quite a bit delayed, but is now rapidly approaching production, thank goodness, the latest set of test shots are very good, but we're still gunning for that elusive perfection. So there'll be another round of changes, hopefully quite accelerated, so we can get it shipping. But this giving test shots to modelers is something that I started with the Messerschmitt, the BF109K, and now I thought I'd expand that idea so that if you're part of the community, you get a chance to build it, and 20 people. Now, whether all those 20 people want to is another question, but maybe if Joe Bloggs doesn't want it, we'll give it to his brother, you know. So, and it'll all have to happen fairly quickly. That's the thing. I hope that people who get this opportunity understand. We need them to sit down and build it, but not paint. We just need to build it with critique of the fit, the look, the detail, and then we'll cross-check with our test shot builds of the second shots, and with any luck, there'll be minimal changes needed out of that third set of shots, and then we're away. But obviously a 4-engine bomber is quite a bit more complicated than even a 32nd scale Spitfire or Messerschmitt. So the turrets and the bomb bays are going to add a lot of parts compared to a fighter.
Do they still get the final one off the shelf, as it were, at the end? It's not an either or.
No. So we'll probably have a couple of our local friends in the modelling community here. I don't know about that. We might just stick to the 20 people plus ourselves in the team. So Darren will build one, Richard will build one, I will build one, and the 20 people, hopefully. And then there should be masses of cross-checking between all those people. But it's amazing. It's amazing how you can build the model. Like I've built test shots, probably 10 Spitfires now. I've completed one. I've got another 2 ready to weather. I'm building the PRA, and I'm still finding new things that I haven't noticed before. Mainly good. Occasionally, I'm like, "Ooh, should that really look like that?" And go to the guys and go, and they, "Oh yeah, like we'll go back and fix that eventually." But of course, they're tiny little things that nobody's noticed.
Sure.
But if 20 people are all looking at with a critical eye, it's unlikely anything's going to slip through.
Sure. So, and your kits are very, very well known for the incredible level of detailing, especially around cockpits and things like that. Is that the same approach you're going to be taking with the Halifax? That the internals are as important as the externals?
Well, we had a really good discussion about that on Friday, and because of the smaller scale, and because we're not going to be doing a Wingnut Wings Lancaster full interior, that it'll be focused on the things you can see. So the turrets are, for me as a modeler, I've always found turrets very hard to understand. I'm not an engineer. I don't have a mechanical bone in my body. So we've, although Richard, we literally talked about this on Friday, Richard said the Halifax turrets are, substantially different to the Lancaster turrets, which I sort of knew. So we can take his experience of designing the Wingnut Wings Lancaster or coordinating the design into what we do with the Halifax. So it'll be the key thing will be buildability, because I'm all about getting to the finish line as fast as possible. Decaling is my favorite bit of modeling. Finishing it and putting it on the shelf. So we want to create parts. People are very kind about the Spitfire and the Messerschmitt, but the Messerschmitt especially, the cockpit just goes together so fast. I think we'll see a lot more finished 109s than Spitfires maybe, because it builds so fast. And whereas the Spitfire cockpit is over half the build, because it's Spitfire cockpit was a fairly untidy piece of engineering. So we'll be carrying across that principle into the Halifax, but buildability will still come first. And if we were going to emphasize anything on the Halifax, I think it'll be surface detail. And we're going to have an ongoing debate in the community about riveting. It takes really clear photos to see that the fuselage, I'm calling it was like clinker built, like a boat. It's not the correct term, but there's lots of rectangular panels that are lapped. They don't meet. So Darren, who's just the most exquisite surface detail designer, the Hurricane is just amazing. He's really looking forward to teasing out the subtleties of the shape. We talked about oil canning and how it's got to be subtle, and especially in 40 scale compared to 72. So if you look at the Airfix Meteor, you probably know that model. You might have built that model. It's got that just a little bit of the oil canning on the fuselage sides and a little bit over the wheel wells, I think. And I think it really adds to the model. And I don't think we'll be oil canning every panel, partly because it's really expensive to do that surface detail. But we want this thing to look like it's not just pressed out of a single piece of aluminium. It was constructed, and in a fairly untidy manner around, especially around the engine nacelles. So all those close-up photos in the wing leader books are just gold in terms of understanding the dimpling around the rivets and fasteners, the different types of fasteners. So, for instance, on the Spitfire and the 109, between Radu, who did the main design on the 109, and the guys in Wellington, if you put some magnifiers on and look at all the rivets and fasteners, the things that have got screw heads, they're all at different angles. That it was very unlikely that the guy putting it together would make sure that all the recesses lined up. And it'll be a bit like that with the Halifax, just trying to show random variability. On the Spitfire, the team designed the panels under the where the ammunition goes in to sit slightly proud, but on a cockeyed angle, because those things in aluminium, they'd take them down, drop them on the ground, they'd be slamming things in, and then shove them back in, screw them on, and they deformed, and so we're trying to capture that look and feel, which is technically very difficult to do. So, but I think if you had to say, are we going to focus on exterior surface or interior, be more on the exterior surface. And remember, the canopy doesn't open like a fighter, so you got to look through the perspex really to see we might put, I think there was a sliding window, but fundamentally the cockpit will look complex without being complex to build. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So you're going to stick with polystyrene parts, or do you think you might be adding resin parts or photo etch or stuff like that? Yeah.
Did you have a recording device at our meeting on Friday? So we're watching the way the world's changing with 3D printing. What Eduard are doing with their hybrid kits. They're going to be putting a lot more 3D printed parts into their models. So I'm sure and I'm sure most of the people that watch your channel know, it's much easier to design for 3D printing than it is to design for injection molding, where everything has to be in two parts, has to pop out of a metal mold, has to be injected at, I don't know how hot the plastic is when it goes in, but it's hot, then has to cool down really quickly. So it's much easier to design for 3D printing. And of course, you can build in more detail and you can do things that are thinner, more fragile than you can do in injection molding. So we'll definitely have accessories, and those saxophone exhausts are classic. They're going to be doable in injection molding. Darren's already got a picture in his head of the way it's going to go, but they'll be even better in 3D printing. So there'll be an add-on. There'll probably be one of the free gift options. We're going to make for our free gift for pre-purchases, there'll be a choice of several items, not just exhausts. Again, to be decided by the community, not by me. But I think we agreed at the end of the day on Friday that we will continue to offer every part in injection molded plastic, and offer either as a free gift or as an add-on, because you can make a bit more money that way in 3D printing. What we will probably stay away from still, I've never enjoyed working with photo etch, and I know some people are amazing at it. Radu keeps telling me, you got to do more photo etch, because he had RB Productions and made a good income out of photo etch for a long time. But I just don't like photo etch, except in very, very, very specific circumstances. And I haven't seen anything on the Halifax yet that looks like it needs photo etch. So all injection molded plastic with 3D printed detail parts. I think that's the way we'll be going.
That sounds good to me. It's quite a lengthy process, however, isn't it? So you're launching now, and you're thinking what, maybe 2028-ish?
2028. I'll be disappointed if it's longer than that. And the thing about it, the beauty of people buying in. So, you know, we've got to address that subject. People are taking a risk. You know, they're trusting me. They're trusting my company. We have never failed to deliver. We've never failed to refund on request if people need their money back. But what it's done is allowed us to attack this project at least, I would say, 5 years earlier than we were going to be able to, just in natural growth. And you still got to save money, right? You know, the Spitfire makes funds the Hurricane makes the money, funds the next Spitfire, and hopefully a little bit ends up in my pocket eventually. And the people buying in have just sped up this project massively. So if they continue to buy in, we can pay for more designer time to accelerate the process. So Darren has just finished the Hurricane design in pretty much exactly a year, which is what I tasked him with. And then it's going to take 6 to 8 months to get it into production. And I'm getting older and I want more models on the shelves. And we've got to try and speed up the development time if we can, especially with a big project like this. So designers are interesting to talk to about whether they want to work with other people on a project. But the Halifax is big enough that you could task another designer with things like the bomb bay, the bombs, for instance, the turrets. So Darren will be the master designer, the head designer, but it's very likely that other people will be tasked with other bits of the project to try and speed it up. So the more people, it'll be a self-accelerating process. The more people sign up, the quicker it will come. But no later than 2028, because I think we're taking the mickey there if it's any longer than that. And we were upfront, right? We were like, this is a 3-year project.
That's I get the feel from people like Airfix and whatever that the really big projects, the really top end projects, that's a likely lifetime is about 3 years from go aheads to on the shelf.
Yeah, I think for their 24 scale kits, that was probably likely. I listened to Luke Stoney Hewitt, who's now at Revell, of course, and he was about kits being designed in 6 or 7 months. I was like, can I have that designer's phone number, please? Because that sounds really quick.
Maybe a starter set, not a 1/24 Spitfire.
I don't think so. So I'm interested in getting as many kits out as I can before I die. And then, you know, my kids and some other interested parties will inherit the company, no doubt, if I haven't sold out big boys by then. So it's frustratingly slow. And I said to the guys, they laugh at me sometimes because I do try to think outside the square, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I said, why can't the molding company, once we've designed the cockpit parts and the turrets, why can't the molding company be working on the steel for those while we're doing the fuselage and the wings? And why can't we be doing the bomb bay? And I was told that is a stupid idea. All it takes is one dimension to change on the fuselage if we get a lighter plan or more plans, and then all your work is ruined. That, you know, once it's cut in metal, it's very hard to change. So I said, okay, sorry, I'll go back to but this idea that we'll be, you know, we had a brainstorming session last year. We did that old-fashioned SWOT analysis, you know, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And I was like, with the advances in 3D printing, in 10 years, we may be only selling the digital modelers. And they could have a printer that's going to print out a perfectly weathered, perfectly colored Spitfire Mark 1. And then Richard said, again, on Friday, he said he doesn't think that can happen because otherwise, why do people enjoy putting bits together? People, our modelers, we love gluing bits together, painting them, hopefully finishing them. But I always de-emphasize the joy of, no, let me rephrase that. if somebody said, I never finish a model, but I love modeling, I would know exactly where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I've got a shelf of doom that has got 50 plus models, but then none of them are written off. They're all going to get finished again. But I just enjoy putting bits together, even getting primer. I'm never going to stop doing that, even if I never finish a model. So the joy of putting something together will always be there, even if you have a printer that can make a perfectly finished model. And those amazing Corgi models that come, the die-cast ones that come all painted, and from 10 feet away in the cabinet, you can't tell that it's not a injection molded kit that's been put together. They have their fans, but also there's hundreds of thousands of modelers that enjoy putting kits together. And I think for foreseeable future, there will be a market for injection kit sets.
But apart from anything else, those beautifully finished Corgi models of, 1/72nd scale Vulcan or whatever are very expensive compared to a plastic kit and some paint. So,
absolutely.
It's what you want. It's what you're after in the hobby, really, whether you're a collector or whether you're a builder or whatever. Which is, in a way, that's the great thing about our hobby. You can be a collector and just collect kits and never make one. Or you can, I know a few people who will make a kit and they'll never paint it. They'll just make it, as you say, for the joy of almost the Lego-like other building blocks are available. The sort of the joy of physically constructing something, then it's done. It's like, done, that, on to the next one. And there are people whose favourite thing is weathering. It's like the build is almost an inconvenience they have to go through in order to then have their canvas upon which to do the bit they like. But there's room for everyone in this.
Absolutely. And the advent of 3D printing just adds another element to that. So I know two modelers, I can't remember when they last finished a kit, but they've designed some beautiful accessories for companies to take to market. They're putting a kit together purely to test the fit of their 3D printed part that they've designed for that kit.
Right.
And they're getting massive enjoyment out of it, a bit of money as well. And that's a fair play to them. They're enjoying what they're doing. So it's a many faceted hobby. I absolutely agree with that.
Excellent. So Halifax is going to take 3 years, hopefully a little bit less. You're working on other stuff, though, I hope. In the meantime, you've got your Hurricane coming out soon, the Ragwing Hurricane, which is very exciting.
Well, the full CAD on that went to China last week, and they'll be starting. What I've again, I know you're knowledgeable in the industry, and a lot of your viewers will be, but I'm still learning. So what I hadn't realized is the first thing a mold maker does these days is make a digital inverse of what we send them, because they have to etch out of metal a hurricane-shaped thing. So they have to create if you think of a CAD design as being the positive, they have to make a negative of that, and then start using that to make the
like a digital plaster cast or something.
Exactly. So that takes several weeks. So they don't start cutting metal until that's done. And I'll be honest, I'll make a fool of myself if I try to explain how the spark erosion or electrode, the way they eat metal out of a block of steel. I want to go and watch it happen. I really want to go to our Chinese molding partners and spend a week and just watch it happening to understand it better. But the current company that will be doing the Hurricane is the same company that did the Messerschmitt, and they're fantastically professional, very quick. I'm not going to say when the Hurricane will be shipping because I've embarrassed myself too many times. But it'll be as quick as possible. And the thing we're hoping, and I think we will be able to capture this incredible fabric surface detailing. So between Richard's research and Darren's skills on SolidWorks software, what a lot of people don't realize is there's multiple different shapes of stringer on the Hurricane, on the fuselage and on the wings. And so we have designed, or the boys have designed, something that I think is going to be amazing and I do believe they'll be able to capture 98% of it in metal. And then I can't wait to put that together and just get the visuals of this this fabric detailing. So that's very exciting. I've mentioned the Spitfire 5B. So the new test shots arrived on Thursday and are looking very good. The molding company had some problems. Not going to go into detail there. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but that's why the project's 12, 14 weeks behind. But now they're back on track. It's looking great. Decals are in China. Box art's done. Instructions are 99% complete. That's one of Richard's projects. So shipping definitely in November. So that's great because that's overdue. The PRA, that mold is being cut right now. We'll have the first test shots in about 2 weeks for the parts for the PRA, which surprising number of parts actually, because like just for instance, they blanked off the machine gun holes in the leading edge of the wing, but because of the curvature of the wing, the blanking plates were unique. You know, four different on one side and mirrored on the other side. So Richard's come up with an idea for a really cute little a bar, which is not. It basically holds the four sort of curved metal, plastic in the middle. You put them in, tiny little bit of glue, let it set, and then you trim off the bar attachment points, and you've got your four perfectly placed little plates, just a little clean off where the attaches. And then same with the blanking plates for the cartridge ejection chutes underneath. And even more cleverly, into that bar that holds the four parts, Darren's designed on Richard's instruction a little hole where you drill for the camera port.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a template to set where you drill the hole, and then there'll be a clear part that sits in there. So Richard. We all actually try to come up with ideas that are interesting and different to make the modeler's life easier. So that decals are being printed by Cartograph right now. So that will definitely be shipping before Christmas. So that's a special edition. It's only available direct from us. And what else can I say without getting into trouble with my staff? So we've taken on, I mentioned a little earlier, we've taken on Jason McAdam. So Jason was one of the core Wingnut Wings designers, multiple big projects that he did for them. And he's been in an engineering company for 5 years, but he's felt the call of the aeroplanes again. So he came back on 2 weeks ago and designing something completely new and different, which I won't say anything about right now.
Sure.
And it's no secret that we're looking to continue the Spitfire line. So we just got to be careful not to saturate the market, really. Luke made a good point. Luke Slaney-Hurt in the interview he did on Beyond the Box Art, where he said, you got to be careful not to present the modelers of the world with too many expensive kits too close together, because people have a budget. These are not. We know they're not cheap. So, which is one of the reasons we will eventually be doing 72nd scale and smaller 48 scale subjects as well. Although nothing along those lines is in design work right now. But I've got a number of themed collections in my mind that I want to develop over the next 10 years in at least 72, 48, 32. I won't go too grandiose, but there's multiple sort of themed collections. There'll be Spitfires, Hurricanes, Halifaxes, and the other things that come out. And a lot of people are saying, why don't we just quickly turn our K4 into a G10? Well, it's not that quick. There are quite a number of parts, but that's on the cards for at least looking at the viability of that. We have not done any design work on that yet, but there's a reasonable chance we'll try to achieve that in the next 18 months or so. So there's a lot going on.
So just my favorite question to ask anyone involved in this business is this. Just assume for the moment you don't have to make money on a project, right? You don't have to do it. It's some benefactor comes along and says, I will fund your dream project. It doesn't have to make a return, but what would your dream kit be with no restrictions, no financial restrictions? What would your perfect kit be, your dream kit that's not been done before, maybe?
You're going to be surprised, I think. So I actually like ships almost as much, if not as much, as I like airplanes. And I grew up flipping the pages of the Airfix catalogue, and I was fascinated by their 600th scale HMS Devonshire, the 60s county class cruiser, really, with that firing off. I would do a 350th scale county class cruiser.
Nice.
So and then, you know, if the same benefactor was shelling out money, there'd be more airplanes following on from that. But I'm pretty sure that the Trumpeter or Pit Road or one of the other Asian companies that are tuning out kit sets of ships now, I'm guessing they'll get to those cruisers or destroyers. They were destroyers, really, weren't they?
Cancer class,
So, but as big as a World War II cruiser, right? So I've always had a fascination for those ships. So that would be my dream project.
Yeah, I made the 600th scale one year before last, I think, but I think it was Starling do a lot of resin aftermarket. So do a proper Wessex on the back, and they've because it's 3D printed, they can print the lattice work of the Sea Slug launcher and things like that. But in 350th, that would be something else.
Are they gorgeous?
That would be beautiful.
I'm excited to see where 3D printing can go. One of the reasons I haven't finished the ship, I'm a fraud, really. I've got 70 or 80 350 scale ships, but I haven't finished a ship since I was 15. So one of the things that puts me off is I hate photo etch, and I'm waiting for the 3D printing, which is, I'm sure it's very close, if not already arriving, to be able to do realistic railings in 350th scale and 200 scale, maybe even 700th. Because much as, I mean, we've got a couple of genius ship modelers in our club, one who works only in 700 scale, pretty much only in 700 scale, and the railings are incredible, but they still don't really look three-dimensional like the real railings, and they don't have that natural sag that the handrails, you know, which were really hand ropes, right, or hand wires. And I think 3D printing is going to be able to do that very soon, and then I'll start building 350 scale ships.
Well, Mark, I'm going to let you go because I know it's getting late there, and it's so good of you to spare some time for a chat. Really do appreciate it. It's really kind of you. And there's lots of stuff a lot of people are going to love to hear. And exciting that you've got not just plans to, well, do another 32nd scale this and that, but you've got plans to really diversify the business.
Oh, I said to the guys on Friday, nothing is off the table. Richard loves McLaren racing cars from the 60s and 70s. I loved Jaguar cars. Why can't we be doing a series of beautiful large-scale Jaguar cars?
Absolutely.
So again, you've got to be careful not to just say yes to everything and then look like a fool when none of it comes to fruition. But got to dream big. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have a chat, Gary. And so after Telford, assuming I get there, which is looking very likely, and maybe later in November, December, we can have another catch up.
Yep, absolutely. That would be brilliant. I really hope you do make it to Telford. I'd be very, very happy to shake your hand and buy you a beer.
And the same.
Okay. Thanks very much, Mark. All the way from New Zealand. Thanks, mate.
You're very welcome.
There we go. A very open and informative chat. I thought what came across to me are the passion within the company for model making and for nurturing a community of builders invested in the company and its products. And now how they have a roadmap for the future that can diverge into different scales and subjects, not putting themselves into a certain pigeonhole. Kotare certainly has the potential to be a huge name in the future. Now, if you enjoyed the show today, then please do let YouTube know by giving it the imperial thumbs up, by subscribing to the channel, and by hitting the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching today, and goodbye.